morning again, and welcome to the online service of First Parish Church in Billerica, a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation. Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you're welcome here this morning. And we invite you to stay after and chat a bit with people and catch up or get to know people. My name's Brita. I'll be the worship assistant for today's service. And our worship leader this morning is Reverend Nannene Gowdy. She is just wonderful. She was our minister for a number of years. She has so much wealth of wisdom, and we just love her sermons and are so happy to have her with us here this morning. Start things with a land acknowledgement. Our church, First Parish Church in the Center in Billerica, was built on the unceded land of the Pawtucket and Massachusetts people. We acknowledge the connection that they have continued to maintain with the land here in this place we call Billerica. And we recognize the hardships they have endured and commit ourselves to fostering good relationships with our Indigenous neighbors. Our chalice lighting. That's me. Nannene will light the chalice. She has a beautiful chalice. And we will all say the chalice lighting words, which have just shown up on the screen. Please say along with me, our chalice lighting. I don't see Nannene though. Oh, there she is. Okay. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather together in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. Our opening words.
Let us not wish away winter. It is a season to itself, not simply the way to spring. When the trees rest, growing no leaves, gathering no light, they let in sky and trace themselves delicately against dawns and sunsets. The clarity and the brilliance of the winter sky delights. The loom of fog softens edges, lulls the eyes and ears of the quiet, awakens by risk the unquiet. A low, dark sky can snow, emblem of individuality, liberality, and aggregate power. Snow invites us to contemplation and to sports. Winter is a table set with ice and starlight. Winter dark tends to warm fire and candle. Winter cold to hugs and huddles. Winter wants to gift and share. Winter danger to visions, plans, and common endeavors. The zest of narrow escapes. Winter tedium to merrymaking. Let us therefore praise winter, rich in beauty, challenge, and pregnant negativities. Amen. Let's join together in the Affirmation of Faith, which is in your order of service.
I think our opening hymn.
Oh, okay. Let's do Dark of Winter.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet arms surround me. Let
Now let's join in the affirmation of faith, which is on your screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Back in the 1980s, I was serving a church on Long Island and realizing that Bible stories are important cultural stories to pass on to kids. I looked around for a curriculum that would teach Bible stories without the superstition that is in so many of them. I was unable to find the Bible stories that were presented in a way that would be good for Unitarian Universalist children. And so I proceeded to write my own version of the Bible stories. I wrote 22 stories for the church, And the UUA found out about it and decided that they would like me to do a collection of 36 stories. And so they could publish it as a curriculum for third graders going to Sunday schools. And this is the curriculum that I wrote. It's got both Hebrew scripture and Christian scripture stories in it. And today I am going to read you the story about Noah that I wrote. I'll show you the picture in it. It's kind of cute. God told Noah to build an ark 450 feet long and 3 stories high, and to cover it with tar so it wouldn't leak. God said, I am going to bring a flood of waters to the earth to destroy from under heaven all flesh in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your family. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every kind into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds according to their kinds, of the animals according to their kind, of every creeping thing on the ground according to its kind. 2 of every kind shall come into you to keep them alive. Also take with you every kind of food that is eaten and store it up, and it shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. The story doesn't tell us what Noah's neighbors said when he began to build this huge ark, or when he told them that there was going to be a huge flood that would cover all the earth. But Noah believed that what God had told him was true, and he finished the ark. When the ark was finished, 1 male and 1 female of every living thing entered. Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives also entered the ark. Then it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, covering the earth with water. Finally, the rain stopped. The ark floated on the waters for 150 days after the rain stopped. Then a wind blew over the earth, causing the waters to go back, and the ark came to rest on the top of Mount Ararat. At the end of another 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark and sent forth a raven. The raven went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set its foot, for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth, and returned to Noah and the ark. So he put out his hand and took it and brought it into the ark with him. Noah waited another 7 days, and again he sent out the dove from the ark. The dove came back to him in the evening, and there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Then he waited another 7 days and sent forth the dove. It did not return. Noah knew it was time to leave the ark, and his family and all the living things that came out of the ark onto the dry land. They had been in the ark for over 8 months. God then said to Noah, I make my covenant with you that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. As a sign of this covenant, I will set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And that bow is our beautiful rainbow.
Thank you, Nannene. Just saw that my computer wasn't plugged in. Oh dear. I just would like to remind folks that our Unitarian Universalist churches are self-supporting. Your donations is what sustains the work of the church, and it's very easy to donate. You go to our website, uubillrica.org, and make a donation, or of course you can mail a check to our post office box, which is 96 Billerica 01821. Let's all sing the doxology. Okay, here we go. From all that dwell below the skies, let's all above the face rise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue. Amen. Thank you.
The myth and the truth. Every culture around the world has them. Many of them are entertaining and colorful. All of them were created to explain a natural phenomenon that the people of the time did not understand. The ones we still know are of such good stories that they have been passed down from generation to generation. I am talking about myths. Probably the myth most often created is one that tried to explain how the earth was created. As I said, every culture has them. Centuries ago, the Hindus tried to explain what was holding up our earth, which they were convinced was flat. Their explanation was that we were on the back of a turtle, which was on the back of a larger turtle, which was on the back of an even larger turtle. Some smart aleck asked, but what was that turtle on? And the storyteller snapped, it's turtles all the way down. There is a Cherokee myth that explains creation by saying that the world was covered by water, except for a large island floating in the ocean. Everything was so dark, the animals could not see. The Great Spirit told the animals to stay awake for 7 days and 7 nights, but most of them could not stay awake that long. However, the plants that stayed awake were able to stay green all year long. And the animals that were able to stay awake, such as the owl and the mountain lion, could also go about in the dark. In this myth, it is animals and plants that were created before humans by the Great Spirit. This has caused Native Americans to value the Great Spirit, to see the value the Great Spirit put on nature, and therefore put nature at the center of their own spirituality. The story of creation in the Jewish and Christian Bibles is the myth of how God created the earth and all things on it, including Adam and Eve. While the turtle myth is amusing to us, the Adam and Eve myth has been harmful. The first version of this myth says that God created an earthling, but notice the earthling was lonely. So God split the earthling in half, creating two new equal creatures, male and female. This version of the myth also says that humans are supposed to be stewards to take care of the earth. The second version is where God takes one of Adam's ribs and creates Eve. Since Eve is second, it has been assumed that she is second class. This version says that humans are to have dominion or control over the earth. This has been interpreted to mean that we can do anything we like to control the earth. Since the early compilers of the Bibles didn't know which version was real, they included both ancient myths. It isn't too hard to figure out which myth was supported and continued by our culture's patriarchy. It interests me to ponder what our culture would have been like if we had been taught only the equal partners and being stewards of the earth myth. Would we still be battling sexism and pollution so much? But the damage goes even further. Since the first humans were put in the Garden of Eden, a myth had to be created to explain why we weren't in paradise anymore. In this myth, it was Eve, of course, who first tasted the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Then, temptress that she was, she convinced Adam to try it. Since that was the one thing God told them not to do, they were expelled from Eden. Not stopping there, the myth says that because Eve sinned first, she would experience great pain during childbirth as further punishment. There are endless myths about just about everything. A popular myth about Noah that I read earlier tries to explain what happens when almost everyone on earth is sinful and why we have the beautiful rainbow. In the myth, God says that there will never be a flood which wipes out the majority of the people. But God promises if people don't stop sinning, it will be the fire next time. Looking at our buildup of nuclear arsenals around the world almost makes me a believer in this promise. For thousands of years, it was myths that helped people understand where things came from and why things happened. Science has told us, however, that the earth is not flat, helps us to see the wisdom of putting nature before human needs, and explains how rainbows are made. Most myths have a piece of truth about them, which makes them intriguing and often worth considering. They are, of course, easier to visualize and understand than a deep scientific explanation. It isn't hard to understand why they are told and retold and have lasted for thousands and thousands of years. But it is also good to look for the ways in which they have been misused. In the two creation stories in Genesis, we have to ask why the one that gives men control over women and nature, is the one that is most commonly told. If Native Americans understood the need to take care of nature, why didn't, couldn't, wouldn't the white European culture? Looking for truth is always important, but it is also important to look at the explanation other cultures have given for why things happen. In hearing myths, our own and others, be open to their truths as well as their prejudices. We don't have all the answers. No one does. But like a jigsaw puzzle, the pieces of truth in their myths might be a missing piece that fits into our picture and helps us to find ways to solve some of our problems. Let's join together in singing the final hymn.
Let all the beauty we have illuminate our hearts and minds. Rejoice in wonders daily shown, in faith and joy and love that binds. We celebrate with singing hearts the loveliness of sky and earth, the inspiration of the arts, the miracle of every birth. Life's music and its poetry surround and bless us through our days. Always we sing in harmony, together giving thanks and praise.
Please say with me, thank you for that. That's a lovely song. I was looking at the words. But please say with me the extinguishing words as Nannene extinguishes the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. We extinguish
the flame,
but
not
not
by
by
the light of truth,
the warmth
warmth of community,
or the
or the fire of commitment.
These
These
we
we
carry
carry
in
in
our
our
hearts
hearts
until
we are
together
together again.
The journey of love. Where in our hearts is that burning of desire? It is true that we are made of dust, and the world is also made of dust, but the dust has motes rising. Whence comes that drive in us? We look to the starry sky, and love storms into our hearts. Whence comes that storm? The journey of love is a very long journey, but sometimes with a sigh, you can cross the vast desert. Search and search again without losing hope. You may find sometime a treasure on your way. My heart and my eyes are all devoted to that vision.
Thank you. It was lovely. And a wonderful sermon about the myths complementing each other.
Yeah, very good, Nannene. Very
Yes.
good.
I'd never thought of it like that, but that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
And congrats on your book.